how light-colored my coffee is this time?
I don't know why I'm craning my neck. That's gonna make a difference. Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of this week's podcast. This week's podcast this week is going to be brought to you by glamorous people and more COVID stupidity.
This week's podcast is also brought to you by the rainy season and running out of media.
I am your host, Madison.
I'm your other host, jessejames. People saying that they're running out of media are fucking crazy. I just started watching like shows again this week, which started with watching Too Hot to Handle, which is just the best way to start off.
Oh yeah.
But I was looking through like the free places to watch stuff, and then I was also looking at like the stuff that we have at our place, which is like Netflix and Hulu. And I don't think I could watch everything, at least during the times that I want to watch stuff in the next few years. So I don't know.
There's too much. It seems like Netflix is adding a bunch of shit right now.
Netflix, I don't know. I'm sort of a Dorcas when it comes to the stuff I want to watch the most, and they have plenty of Dorcas material. Also, if you want to watch the entirety of the Tremors series like we've been doing on our movie nights, that's there too. So I've already seen that.
I've never heard of that series.
Yeah, I expected you might not, but you should watch the first one, and I think the third one's pretty good as far as like bad movies go. It's like 15 years after the first one or something, or 11 maybe. The first one's in like the 90s, so it's like I don't know, for somebody who hasn't seen it, it's like if you mixed Aliens and Hillbillies and like Gremlins. Did you ever see the Gremlins movie?
No.
Well, it's got almost like a Ninja Turtle-y flair. Like, it doesn't have those kinds of characters, but like the puppetry and the storyline and all that kind of stuff feels very like this could be a side story in something like that. And the first one has Kevin Bacon in it, so.
Oh, well, that's good. There's actually up in Coeur d'Alene, or I guess it's actually Hayden. There's the theme park called Silverwood, and they have one of their roller coasters is called Tremors, and I wonder if like the theme of that is based on that series.
I know
because it kind of reminds me of what you're talking about.
But I don't know of a Tremors ride. I'll have to look that up.
It's a wooden roller coaster.
Okay.
So it's pretty good, but it's very like it's one of those that like shakes you the whole time and kind of feels like you might die, but
I'm not a roller coaster person, so
really that's surprising. Actually,
when I've ridden roller coasters, I feel like I might die anyway. And the first roller coaster I rode was when I wasn't super old for it, but I was too tall for it. And it was like a younger roller coaster, but I was already way too tall. And the seats, if they don't go far enough up your back, you just kind of do this.
Oh, no.
That doesn't help either.
I could see that. I have always had the opposite problem. So I'm on the other end of the spectrum where I'm like, I don't know if this goes down far enough for me to stay inside of it.
Yeah.
But I still enjoy the roller coaster experience. But
I kind of like the Gravitron. That thing's all right.
Oh yeah.
The one that just spins you. I think it's kind of like sitting on one of those like inverted like not chair, but it's like an inverted surface that lets you like stretch your back out. It kind of feels a little bit like one of those to me.
Yeah, isn't the Gravitron is the one that spins, right? And
Yeah.
like you can go up on the wall, but they yell at you if you do anything.
Yeah, don't do anything. Stop having fun. This is about pressure.
Stop experiencing this ride the way it's meant to be experienced.
What are you? I saw you had a cup with numbers on it. Was that a bubble tea purchase?
It's actually that was an iced coffee purchase, but I've just filled it up with water. I'm pulling a Jesse today. I have 3 different beverages happening.
Very nice.
I can rotate. I have my water, and then this is Genmai green tea, and then I have a white wine as well. So
this drink that I'm having is from the Hawaiian place near us, JB Bungalows. Has really good Hawaiian food. I sent you pictures after last week.
I know. Intensely. I think they're up on the Instagram too.
Yeah, their musubi are like this thick. And when you order them currently, I also, so for today's food order, I have to really consider it because their food is not that expensive given the stuff that you get. And their musubi are all individually wrapped, and I put them into the microwave for like a minute days afterwards, and they were still amazing, and like an entire like small meal.
I think that musubi might be the perfect food. Sushi in general.
Yeah, musubi is pretty amazing.
Spam, actually, to me, might be the perfect food. It's the texture's fine. It's versatile enough that you can like chop it up or put it in whatever, and it satisfies my need for like really, really salty food.
Yeah. I don't know. There's just never a time when I'm like, I don't want this ball of rice covered in like seaweed and stuffed with meat. Or in the Spam musubi case, it's basically just an open face rice sandwich, which I'm always into. I am going to be unprofessional here and reply to work real quick to make sure I know what they're actually expecting from me. How
dare you? You have ruined the quality of this podcast fully.
Would you like to tell people about some of the further COVID nonsense while I do this action?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I guess I have I don't have anything specific. There's just a couple of like things that are happening. Bars in my city are opening again, which Evan and I witnessed last night on a walk. There's a lot of people at them, which is a bummer. Also, there somewhere in Kentucky, I think I saw an article where people, some small business owners are putting up signs saying that if you have a mask, you cannot come into their establishment. Which is like,
okay, so why aren't they closed?
Yeah, I don't even know where to go with that one. It's just stupid shit. Like, that feels, I don't know. I don't know. The whole conversation about like businesses being able to choose or what is the phrase? There's like an actual phrase for this. They reserve the right to not serve you or whatever.
Right.
Like that whole conversation is complicated and nuanced, and I've argued for both sides at different times. So, but that's just a particularly stupid example, and I don't even think that's really part of that conversation. It's more just people being contrarian jackasses, who, I don't know, think that their rights are being infringed upon by other people wearing masks. I don't understand. Yeah. So,
I mean,
it's stupid.
That's the thing too, is it's the conversation / online yelling argument, let's say, that has been happening all this week at least, which is, should we be treating like people who own businesses like they speak for all of the people who work for them in a situation where people are having to watch for their own health? And that is a really tough thing, because on one hand, a business owner could have a bunch of workers and they could all say, we're not going to wear masks anymore. And that sucks, because that endangers everybody that associates with any of those people. Assuming they have families, like any of the people who work there are now putting everybody else who works there's family at risk. But aside from that, like a business saying that they will not support masks, and then everybody there deciding they're going to wear them, like they shouldn't be able to tell them that they can't wear them either. So it's really hard to like navigate that.
Yeah.
I think I am not a huge Twitterer, but I think the New Zealand tweet that got some traction from like just like a mom in New Zealand, I think, put up a tweet that was like her and her kids outside, and it was like, my kids are going back to school today because we have a compassionate government and listen to science. And it was from like this week, which, yeah, that seems like where we should be nearing.
Could be.
But we're not going to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to really add to that, other than just, I think there's going to be a second wave of shit. We're just not going to see it for a few weeks because we're not testing at the rate that we should be, or could be, had this been handled better.
I mean,
I almost said betterly.
Yeah, I mean, that seems right for the occasion.
Betterly.
Given that we are we're still like the richest nation in the world, as far as I'm aware. We're definitely not the most moral, because I don't think we could be the richest that way. But
yeah,
like we could have just transitioned into testing and tracing and sheltering at like closer to the start of the year, and we would probably not even be that worried about it coming back at this point. And
yeah,
that seems like such a far off dream, and seeing other countries actually hitting that point like before now even is incredibly frustrating. And then I think my big thing, my dad actually brought this up to me earlier this week, because he's getting more and more pissed off, I think, as he's watching people be this stupid. Because he's off in like a small town in Oregon, which is sort of like, it's similar to how Washington and California are handling things. I think they're slightly more liberal about some things, because I think their population's a little more spread out for some things. But he was bringing it up that churches were being demanded to be like put into essential status, and the president was agreeing with them.
Yeah, didn't he just do that like yesterday?
I think that he was talking about it this week, and I think that went through, which is maybe the worst because the biggest spreaders of this disease in countries where that has been an issue, like Korea, which we went over when that happened. Well, like episode 20 or something. Like, it's been a while since then.
God, it has.
But that's literally like one of their first 50 infected spread the virus more than anybody in that entire country by going to their church.
Yeah.
I think that, I forget where, I want to say it was Behind the Bastards went over the numbers on that. And it was something like over half of the entire country's outbreak could be traced to that church.
Holy shit.
And that's nuts. Like, that's so many people. And
That's
it
terrifying.
totally fits with the, like, virology. Like, yeah, of course. Like, if you're going to start it somewhere and they're not going to take precautions and people keep doing that, you're going to, like, spider web out from there, and then that collects more people everywhere it goes. So,
yeah.
But sucks.
It does. On another one of our walks, Evan and I walked by a Catholic church. Hello, Evan. You're being spoken about. We're recording, just so you're aware.
I'm not part of the pod. Don't talk to me.
Okay. Anyway.
Don't talk to that beard in the corner.
Oh yeah, we've gone full like quarantine beard.
Nice. Actually, I just trimmed mine a couple days ago because I can't like look at the different lengths of hair and just clip it with scissors because it turns into all day just trying to like make it even.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. So now mine looks worse, but it is one length, which I love.
And it's nice to have it all uniform. That would frustrate me if I had a beard. But what was I talking about before you came in? Oh yeah, there's a Catholic church that is like a couple streets down from us, and they had signs up that were like, "Hey, we're some nice ice ASMR." They had a couple of signs up on their doors that were like, "We're doing weekend mass on like Saturdays and Sundays if you want to come." And I cannot think of a more obvious stupid example of like mass. A thing literally called mass is not where you should be going during a fucking pandemic. Maybe don't go to the mass of people. Maybe don't
also,
do that.
Telling a Catholic that they're gonna miss Sunday mass, if the church is open, there's gonna be a lot of people who just go because they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Like they're probably in the top 3 like guilt-driven religions.
Yeah. That really. I'm sure there's an element to that to pretty much any like organized religion thing we have going on. So it's kind of a bummer that churches or the leaders of the churches, whoever does churches, aren't like stepping up and actually being a leader and actually thinking about the good of the community / world. But
yeah,
which is, arguably what they're for. But that's another podcast, I guess.
Yeah, well, that other podcast I think is going to be when we go over those questions later.
Oh, good.
Because I scanned them. I didn't want to get into them because I wanted them to be a fresh take.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they're very stupid. So one thing that this was battling for being in my my two topics at the top, but I really like the idea, and one of my friends is actually doing one today of cyber birthdays, just putting out like an open invitation to like the close friends that you have on media as opposed to in life exclusively, and setting up like a set of guidelines and like activities, and then just opening up your Zoom in their case to have people like call in and like it sounds like it's a talent show as well, which is like kind of perfect for that.
Fun.
And my birthday's in like 2.5 weeks or whatever, so I am considering doing something like that, I think.
Ooh, yeah.
But it'll probably be on like an evening or something, because like a weekday evening when everybody's like, I don't know, looking for something to do. I don't think I could make it a weekend day.
Yeah, that would be really fun. And everybody could set their background as like a custom happy birthday.
I've still not used Zoom, so I guess I'll have to look at it, because I think most people use that currently.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I have only used it a couple of times, but it's pretty interesting to get used to. My mom actually teaches through Zoom.
Oh yeah.
And there's like a hand raising feature, which I think is really funny. I don't know.
That's cool.
But I've been to some Zoom meetings, and there's always just one person who like clearly has not spent a lot of time on Zoom, and they like will accidentally raise their hand like intermittently through the meeting. Anyway.
I don't know. More things like that would be nice. I don't know. I think that online interaction has gotten pretty stale as it is. So anything that people want to do to just add like weird baubles and shit seems good to me.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's kind of what Zoom is doing in general. I'll probably try and check it out the next week or two and report back, I guess. But that'll be the most, yeah, why haven't you tried this already kind of topic. I don't know what I would do for cyber birthdays exactly, but I wish that there was a way to like involve food somehow. Just like put up a order me snacks button, and that can be the version of gifts, and it just like door dashes you garbage.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
It's very tailor-made for me, a person who likes to eat garbage 24/7.
Huh. That's kind of fun, though. Like, you could expand that to just anyone who has some sort of long-distance friendship and they want to send their friend, like, poutine or something.
Just
which I would totally do.
Put a musubi button in the corner.
Yeah. I think we need some sort of integration between like this idea and Animal Crossing too. That would be very good. Which I still don't have, but
I don't. Well, no, I technically have it for a night.
Do you get custody this evening?
So yeah, so Nick is helping one of our close friends move back into her parents' place, which fingers crossed that doesn't cause any problems. I think that the likelihood of her getting sick and not noticing is pretty low, but I know that at least Nick and I have been quarantined for long enough because of the way we've structured our like our house shifting that we shouldn't have anything, and unless I get it from work, I shouldn't be in any risk as like the first person at least.
Yeah.
But this is probably the riskiest weekend we've had because he is helping her move, and then tomorrow I am getting a ride from him to work. But I don't know. We'll see. It's probably fine. That's pretty much how this whole thing goes, is it's probably fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Animal Crossing is a Nick-owned material. So when he's in our shared living arrangement, he is doing his like tech support work during the day, and then like I think he takes advantage of the non-boyfriended status to like catch up on stuff he wants to watch / like rest. So the Nintendo's out in the front room, and just kind of I pick up Animal Crossing like in the mornings, which is nice.
That's a good way to start your day.
Yeah, but I both have late mornings, and I also I don't know, most of the stuff that I really work on is so late that it wouldn't matter anyway for like timing. I feel like half the stuff I do is when Nick is asleep. But kind of on that note, actually, Animal Crossing is going well, by the way. I have 3 rooms.
Ooh.
And I just bought an upright arcade mahjong machine for my living area.
That's good. That's real good.
So everything's going well there. I have a light up drafting table, so I can, work on all of that action. And a hamster. That's important. Lots of important stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
But in yes.
I was just thinking, I don't know why I didn't have this thought earlier, but it's kind of weird how in this game you can have like pets and hamsters. What are you doing? Okay. Sorry. Third, fourth, fifth unofficial member of the podcast, Evan, is distracting me.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird how in this game you can have pets and there's animals, but also they're animals. Like, how does that work? And wait, don't they actually in the museum? There's like it's not a genealogy,
right,
like a map.
There's an evolutionary chart that shows like the mammals and what they turn into, and it's all the like outlines of the creatures that you meet, and then you stand at the end by the Australopithecus skull. It's a complicated alternate history.
Yeah, like are there just some, they're like a higher species of these animals that are a little more sentient or something, and then the other ones are just kind of hanging out like regular. I don't know. That I just realized that, but
maybe it takes place in a peaceful post-apocalypse.
Oh, I like that. It's actually
maybe the Animal Crossing characters aren't kids. That's just what people look like. Because you never see adults or anything.
Because of like nuclear after what are the words? I'm sorry.
Fallout?
Sure. Yep, that's what I'm thinking of.
Post-apocalypse?
Yeah, that's also that, but like nuclear.
After nuclear?
In the after nuclear post-apocalyptic world, that's just what people look like because they're all like, I don't know. Never mind. I'm giving up on this sentence.
Yeah, I think you're right. Also, there are some of those animals in Animal Crossing that do not treat you like you're a kid, but are clearly like businessman-ish and stuff like that in a way that makes. Also, they're trying to give you the responsibility of like a mortgage, so like clearly they're not treating you as like a adolescent character.
Yeah. In this one, do you also start the game with like receiving a letter from your mom with a bunch of money in it?
I don't think you get any money. I think you just get a letter talking
From
about
mom.
how you've moved away, but like it doesn't have any indication that you're a child necessarily. It
That's
just
true.
that you have a
Just-
mother.
You're not with mom anymore.
If anything, you would probably want to age these people at like 16 through 20 or something. Whatever these goblin things are.
Yeah. I do kind of feel like these Animal Crossing characters, while I really enjoy the customization and all the bullshit you can do with them, I kind of feel like they're getting too hot or like too attractive.
Yeah, so I always play as like characters that are as far away from me as possible in games, and like going through the options, they have like very like stylish like eye makeup. They have like hairstyles that are like business fashion and all kinds of stuff like that that are like none of these are designed for children. Like they're all kind of like also, I have a like leather daddy suit and what basically amounts to a gimp mask in the game. Like, if it is meant to be like children, it's a very strange take on it, which, sure, it is coming out of Japan, so who knows? But, like, still.
Yeah. I also saw, I think this actually feeds into our theory of it being kind of a dystopian post-apocalyptic world. I saw on Twitter, Glossier, the skincare makeup brand that I'm spent way too much money on, has, I don't know how they did this, but they've done some sort of collaboration with Animal Crossing, and you can buy one of their hoodies in the game. So your character can have a Glossier hoodie, and it's just like a pink hoodie. But I saw that, and my initial reaction was like, "Oh, that's cool. I want a Glossier hoodie for my fake person." And then I was like, "That's kind of extremely meta and weird that I'm interested in buying some like swag merchandise for my fake person." So they have like internet points.
To be fair, I have probably around a third to a half of my entire inventory is dedicated to clothing. Like, if Animal Crossing were just a very complex paper doll with clothing, I would still enjoy it. Like, that's kind of how I play that game. Like, they put so much care into their like clothing design too. Like in this one, there's even like it seems like they've put in like transparent layers. They've got a lot of like really fine detail fabric designs, kind of like they have in like the Pikmin games, where like different carpets and different clothings and stuff that you get like show up well. They have like wide knit sweaters where you can like see the knit on them, and they have like corduroy pants where you can like see the like it has lighting effects on that stuff. Like it is sort of the ideal clothing simulator, and I think I got like the weird achievement thing for changing your clothes and owning clothes like before I even hit what would be considered like a third of the way into the game. So that's
good.
I don't think it's weird at all that you would look at a fake hoodie for a fake person and think I want that, or else we both have the same disease.
Well, it's not just the hoodie, it's the like branded aspect of it that's like now I can imagine a world in which people's Animal Crossing characters are like decked out and supreme, and I don't like that world. I'm just like, I want it to be different. But
I got some deluxe clothes on sale, ordered out of I think it was like a UK store, like last week, and it felt very Animal Crossing. Like, I mean, they have these sick ass shorts on sale, and I wear shorts a lot now because I'm like in the house.
Oh my god, my dad is trying to FaceTime me.
Oh, it showed a little like a dimming blip on the.
Did it?
Yeah.
I've never received a FaceTime through my computer before, so that was very jarring.
Well, now it's your turn to be unprofessional.
Oh no.
My other topic was the rainy season, and while it's not raining here currently, it has been raining a lot this week, and because of that, I also have the first sprout starting on my herb planter, which I'm very excited about. It's extremely idealistic little two-leaf like sprig, which I also really like.
Yeah. That's very nice.
And the potatoes, I think, are just gonna kind of sit there. If they like mold or something, I'll put them out for the squirrels and then plant more herbs in there, I think. And then we've been saving coffee grounds partially because at some point I'll probably pour them all together. I don't think Nick will watch this anyway, but I'm basically trying to side start my own compost. But
oh, nice.
I just am planning to do it in like a cardboard box or something that can just hold like coffee grounds, and then we can like bury like fruit waste in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really feel like having that discussion currently, so I'm just saving coffee grounds in containers as like a planter thing.
Yeah.
And then when I have enough, I'm gonna pour them all together so I can start doing that. Plus, it's a really good way to get mushrooms. Like just if it's sitting outside, you can sometimes like spore it up, and that's another thing that I would kind of like to see if I can get to have it like actually going. I don't know.
That would be cool.
There's a lot of space that is like pretty non-useful over to the side of our apartment behind this weird stone barricade we have, and nobody ever goes there, so it kind of just seems like that would be the best use of it, is to have like a little space where maybe our I have noticed our garbage fills up like in maybe 2 days when we're both here, and when it's just me, I take out the garbage once in a 2-week span. So there is something going on with the way we use garbage that is both different, and also like I want to see if I can mitigate some of it by like moving food trash out of it. And since we don't have the option to compost in this building, I might as well just do it on my own.
Yeah, that would be nice. I wish I was on a like a ground floor apartment, because then I might have more space to do that. I just have my little like middle canister thing for under the sink, which I think I just need to do some more research on how this goes, because I had I filled it up obviously very fast, and then I was like, oh no, what do I do now? Because it doesn't like deteriorate fast enough. And I didn't have anywhere to put it. Now I have a tiny little herb garden happening, so I have kind of somewhere for it to go, but it smells so bad. So.
Yeah, having a ground floor refuge for that stuff is nice. Also, the coffee ground thing does work. If you bury stuff in it, it tends to kind of stay a little more contained that way.
I'll try that.
Also, I miss having a manure pile. Like, it's a weird thing to be nostalgic for, but it truly is. Once you have something, because like a manure pile tends to be a lot bigger than you think it is because things shit all the time. So you're just kind of moving, in my case, like horse manure out into just a designated spot. And ours was like in sort of a clear cut, like area in like a wooded zone, which, you know, I don't know exactly what you're supposed to do with that. I think we followed the rules, but once a manure pile gets big enough, the inside of it is hot all the time. Like it's almost like on fire hot. And so if you go put like compostable trash in there, it basically gets composted incredibly quickly at that point because it's so large. Like if you just dig like a straight down hole where it's essentially turning into dirt again at the bottom, there is a spot that like steam shoots out of, just because it's like building up heat underneath all of this like decomposition. It's interesting. And also, if it's not the shit of an animal that is carnivorous or like not passing like sort of pellets of some kind, as long as it's not something like a human, it doesn't smell bad. It just kind of smells like you're outside. So that is also helpful. That makes a huge difference in the wanting it to be around. If it were a big pile of human shit, I would not want to be anywhere near it.
That's a little bit different.
Yeah. Typically, that doesn't work as well.
Yeah. If you've been, I don't think you even have to have been around that situation to know that like other animals, that situation, that like their shit smells much different. Just because, I don't know. I would enjoy having that around too. Actually, that makes me a little bit nostalgic because I grew up on a ranch with horses, and so I liked. It's like that ranchy smell. It's nice.
Yeah.
The shit smell. I miss the shit smell. Is what I'm trying to say.
I think that's fair. Let's see. Where do we go from shit? I mean, how about Too Hot to Handle? I did watch all of
that's
that.
where I was gonna go. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my start of like watching like what I guess would be TV shows again in earnest. Granted, I'm still doing it while I'm like painting mostly, but I'll touch on that actually for a second. So I'm doing I've been doing art cards for people. They're like little what I guess they're like 10 by 7 paintings. And I've gone through the list of like people that I was going to send them to that are like close friends, and now I've opened it up to like just whoever wants them. And I have a list going. I'll have to buy more stamps, but I figure that's an okay thing to promote through us, because getting something from us, if you want to email us or anything, it is free, and there's no like designated time limit before it gets to you, but you will get one if you want one. What's the email address for us?
The email address is itsthisweekspodcast@gmail.com all together.
You can also DM either at Vegeta42069 or at sour_buddy on Instagram, and I will add your address and name or fake name, I don't care, to a list and send that out to you. I'm guessing based on the ones I'm doing now, you probably have like a few weeks of wait time which, I mean, the way the mail is currently, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, we have time still.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere.
And I don't know, the quality of what you're going to get is the quality of work that I do. So keep that in mind. I will not refund your zero money, and the stamps are on me. So that's my offer to the world currently.
It's a win-win-win situation all around.
And tonight is probably a good night to repost that offer. We can put it up on our stories on Instagram or whatever. I think tonight was also when I was going to put it on my personal Instagram. That way, it reaches the most people, and if I start getting an amount of people that seems untenable, then I'll just stop actively offering it. But I don't think I'll need to like actually cut it off at any point. Honestly, if it's a year from now and you want one, I'll still send it to you. I don't care. Anyway, just getting that out of the way. So I was working on one of those, and or I guess 1.5 of those, and during that time I decided, what if I'm just up until 5 a.m. and I watch every episode of Too Hot to Handle in a row?
Yes,
so
I think that's how it's meant to be consumed.
Yeah, that show is hot garbage. I think that's important to get out of the way first.
And not hot in the way that you would expect.
No. Your description of it seems pretty apt. I think that the names are all dumb, but it's Francesca, I think. Oh, and
yep.
Spoilers for Too Hot to Handle. I think her and the I don't know if they just cut out the part where the friend of hers from the beginning to like the midway point of that show came in as like, hey, I'm bi and I was in a fraternity. If they just cut the I'm bi part off, but it seems like they did. I don't know. I would have liked more queer representation in that show anyway. But I guess in terms of like just being, I don't know, straightforward in their designs on that show, it didn't happen. Or who knows? Maybe that's a misread of somebody who is just, let's say, a free spirit. But having somebody who is queer, probably, and doesn't want to be there seems like a complete plant for like a show like that. And that was probably
I can't remember her name. It's the blonde lady, right?
Yeah. She's like a Midwestern blonde from a fraternity. That's what I remember.
And does she actually say that she's bi?
No, she doesn't say anything like that. But she is... she says a bunch of times that she like sort of flippantly loves the Francesca lady and is constantly saying what would really get him mad is if we just make out a lot in front of everybody.
Yeah, I fucking love that.
And she's not interested in anybody there, and she doesn't want to be there, and it only accelerates once it's clear that the Francesca like relationship angle is set. So it's I don't know. It feels very like directed.
I felt pretty bad for her, but she very obviously, as soon as the Francesca thing was like, I can't even remember the dude's name. He has like a very child face, and that's all I remember him as.
My ranking of like dudes on that show, the only person who I thought was even the least, well, no, there were a couple that were like okay, but
I'm gonna pull this up. I need to have a reference for this.
Yeah, name reference would be good. Harry is the one you're talking about. I remember that because it's the most stereotypical name you could have for somebody who's
Isn't he like British too?
I think he's Australian.
That's what it was.
And yeah, his entire appeal is that he's like 6'5", and he's like a complete like turd throughout the entire show. Like his character development in that show is that he managed to have a attractive, really obnoxious woman who wanted to have sex with him and couldn't, and the fact that he didn't have sex with her for like upwards of 12 hours at a time to not waste all of the prize money that everybody had to share was treated like he had grown a lot, which is a weird goal for growth. But you kind of got to take what you can get on that show, I feel like. Honestly, I think my attractive guy scale and my like interesting character scale are like a one circle graph of the guy who is British. What can you see his name in there? I
can't remember his name. I found a picture of everybody, but there's no names. I need.
Okay.
I need names because they kind of look the same.
I am certain I could remember it eventually, but everybody there just becomes like a cartoon character so fast that it's hard to remember. Sharon is friends with him, and that's probably the actual driving storyline of that entire show is he and Sharon's friendship, and like the actual personal growth that is happening there is like the only real story. Everything else is just weird events. And the Sharon like relationship story is also, I don't know, like they do a good job of taking all of those people, and like those editors are really good for those shows in general. Like there's a long history of making those things interesting, but he gets stuck on Sharon gets stuck on this idea of like vulnerability is growth. So like for the first like 2 to 3 episodes, he's like actively making steps towards like self-actualization, basically. Like he's reaching like his teenage years in terms of like personal growth, and then he kind of is good enough at that point with where he's gotten to, and like I still think that's effective, but it is kind of funny that realizing that other people have to be trusted for you to form relationships is a really funny like, oh, I get it. And then let's see, I gotta find that guy's name. I can't just keep calling him
I'm scrolling through.
Well, it'd help if I spelled British properly, huh?
David. Is it David?
Yes,
I think
it
it's
is David.
David.
Okay. So
Hello.
David is a British guy who I think they probably edited out some of his shittier aspects in his like personal bio stuff, because he's clearly like the good guy character of the whole thing. And I mean, to be fair, he does do things that are actually like decent human things, and he's probably like the only one in that series. And he well, I mean, yeah, probably.
Well, except for my personal favorite character, I think his name is Kells, who doesn't do anything the whole time and is just like annoyed by everybody constantly.
Yeah, he seems pretty okay, and he might have one of the worst intros of the whole show, because his intro is that he's a top dog alpha lion, and
Oh,
he keeps referring to the younger guys who are there as like lion cubs trying to like step up to the big boys kind of stuff.
ew. I don't
But
like that.
the only reason why that's at all acceptable, because he is one of the ones that I actually thought of as like he's not like that bad a character, but like even watching it, I kept having to remind myself that he is maybe one of the worst intros for a character because he keeps doing that shit until like halfway through the show. And then he has like a weird Francesca date. Francesca being like the horny bait of the series, I guess. Mostly just because she's the most abrasive, shitty person there, seemingly. Her personal growth is really funny, but he has a thing when they finally do that like all guy like therapy day. They do like an all guy therapy day and an all girl therapy day, and he's after he went on a date with Francesca, he then has like a bunch of turbulent shit with Harry, the tall doofus. And keep in mind, extremely, extremely overconfident doofus, who
And just incredibly immature.
yeah, like it is worth noting that Kells isn't wrong in saying that it seems like a kid who's trying to like be an adult, but Kells is also a kid who seems like he's trying to be an adult. He's just like maybe a 16-year-old instead of a like 5-year-old for like maturity wise. But he also is, they're the two tallest people there. So I think that like in most cases that turns into a weird conflict as well.
That's funny. I never picked up on height
They're
at
they're
any
like
point. During
the only two people who are like over 6'2", I think, are those two. So of course they're going to be combative because height does stupid things to people's minds. And during the guy therapy day, they're forced to look at like a board that says like all of their personal flaws as they see them and like point them at each other, and that's what causes the like greater understanding. It's like first grade social class activities that they're doing, and the fact that it's working on these like fully adult human beings is crazy.
Yeah, well, actually, I think what was really funny is like the guys have their therapy day, which I don't remember super well, but I do remember it is very like basic, write down all the like the bad things that people say about you.
I'll go over the list in a second. But
yeah, so their therapy day is very like dumb and like what you said, like kindergarten style.
Mm-hmm.
And then the girls have to like look at their own vaginas and like practice some self-love, which seems like one of these things is not the same as the other one.
Yeah.
That seems a little more involved than like the dudes just have to confront that some people have said some like not nice things to them before.
Yeah, the guy therapy day is empathy training, and that's
it.
It's also props to the do you have the if you pull up IMDb, it has the lady who does the voiceover. She did a really good job. I mostly only know her from video games, but she's very good at doing voiceover work.
Okay, I'll look it up.
And then her lines were really good at pointing out that like the stuff that we're doing isn't necessarily stuff that's like smart or like all that interesting. it's just interesting to see how it affects them. Like, she actively makes fun of the guy who is doing the empathy training session for the guys, like, while he's doing it. And I totally agree with that, like, angle on it, because I think that it is useful for people. But if you saw people who are, like, moving into, like, middle school doing that stuff, you would think, oh, yeah, that's a great, like, thing to do for your, like, first day at PE, so that all the guys realize that they're not in competition with each other. They're there to, like, learn. But instead, it's these, like, fully grown men. The list of things they do is they all get together in swimsuits for, like, the day or the hours that they do this. And first they take big handfuls of mud and they rub it all over another person. So they match them up with the people that they're, like, having the most social interaction with. So Kells and Harry have to rub mud all over each other at the beginning. But, like, each like person has a partner that they're doing that with. Also, I'll get to that in a minute. There are some characters that are just, like, complete throwaway duds in that show too. And then they do the write down your, like, as you see them, personal vulnerabilities on a chalk or on a whiteboard thing. And then I want to say they do, like, yelling at the ocean for a piece of it. But then they put up the boards and they all have spears and they run up and spear them, which is very stupid. And then they run into the water and wash all the mud off, and they just show all the women sitting on the porch, like, being horny at them, which it is a very funny episode.
What about that seems orchestrated? Because to me it seems very natural, and like, this all happened naturally.
But yeah, the women's therapy day is, like, all the same stuff in essence, but they're also having to, like, look at a mirror, like, in a weird little isolation
box.
box. And the lady doing it keeps talking about their yoni, which I understand, but it's just a really obnoxious, like, extra layer of that.
I could have done without that.
You can call it a vagina and a penis. You don't have to give it a nickname to, like, say things about it. But that then turns into them painting a representation of it. And, like, yeah, well, most of them don't. It's like a painting that symbolizes their femininity, essentially. And then
doesn't one person paint, like, a unicorn or something?
Yeah, the unicorn is
that's pretty good.
I think that's the Irish lady who gets, like, absolutely no play at anything during the show.
Is that Nicole? I think that's Nicole.
Yes, that's Nicole. And then
Nicole.
I don't know, like, it's all just sort of what you would expect, I guess. There are some people in that, like, Chloe, I find very, like, interesting, even if I also disliked her intro. I disliked it less than a lot of the others, though. Because she does the weird thing of, like, I'm not very smart, and, like, that stuff that is just sort of like, okay, I don't know what that means, but sure. Like,
and she goes on to become probably the most interesting person, and also the most emotionally intelligent woman there that I can remember.
Like, she takes it as she takes it as being a sort of weird, aggressive act that Francesca goes or leads on one of the new characters later on enough to have a date requested with her prior to, like, the therapy session thing. And the fact that she didn't point it all at the dude and pointed it at Francesca for being like clearly very like flirty and open to that idea makes a lot of sense in terms of like I don't know, not necessarily emotional intelligence, but just like reading a room a little bit.
Yeah.
And then she also is the person who is like quick to forgive other people for like shit they do as long as they seem like they actually give a shit about it. And I feel like for other problems between people, the arc is like way longer. The only other person who does that well is the like Sharon David thing, where I forget her name all of a sudden.
Is it Rhonda?
Yeah, so Sharon and Rhonda are like the relationship like storyline of the show in earnest. Like there's a Francesca Harry thing, but like who gives a shit? But the Sharon Rhonda relationship is like the one where he just isn't comfortable talking about anything real, and then he gets comfortable talking about it, but it's only because they start pairing David with Rhonda, and David is actually like somewhat emotionally intelligent, so it's immediately like, oh, I like him now. And then he talks to Sharon, and I think that show is about bromance in a weird way for like how it's like set up, but he says that he won't like try anything in terms of like pushing like a relationship. He just wants it to be under the restrictions of, as long as you're trying to like move forward as a person, then like you should do it. And the fact that there isn't any, like, I feel like it would be a storyline immediately if he were like jealous or something like that, but it doesn't come up. So I feel like that is like more of a real human interaction than most of the things that they do in that show. And that works out fine. Like, I think the therapy session is when Rhonda says she has a kid, and then that turns into a thing. And that's what you talked about when this first came up, is about how like the idea of having a kid wasn't treated negatively at all. So like that's sort of an interesting aspect of the whole process, I think. But I don't know. That show is worth watching. And if you're not interested in the like sort of minor personal growth, then you should be interested in watching Matthew, the horrible like Jesus character.
Oh God, that was so horrible.
He gets there, and the first episode, his interaction with people is that he is talking to Kells, and he's like, in the little testimonial they constantly do, he's like, I like Kells, we're both intellectuals.
Oh, God.
and everything that he does is the dumbest possible thing. Later on, they bring in new people who aren't really worth talking about. There is one person who David gets along with, and that's like the only thing that's interesting about them. But the one girl who comes in, who I don't remember her name, and she shows up like barely at all anyway. But they have like a maybe we could make a relationship thing out of this, when apparently everybody decides that relationship like tending is the point of the show, instead of like personal growth and not having sex for like a period of time, which was actually like the whole goal of the show.
Yeah.
So he's trying to form a relationship with one of the new people when they have a party for the new people, and he instead his entire date is trying to mansplain things in an impressive way, and then he's really surprised when she's like not interested. I don't know, that was a rough scene.
Yeah, that one was rough. I think his name was Bryce, one of the new people.
Bryce was the first new guy, and he was fantastically uninteresting.
Oh wow. Yeah, real bad. I don't think he had like a weird sort of thing with Chloe, I
Yeah.
think, for a little bit, but then I can't remember why, but she broke that off for one reason or another. Probably because he was really boring and annoying.
I think that's the reason, actually. It was so if you kiss somebody, there's a $100,000 reward pot. If you kiss somebody, it takes 3,000 off of it. And other stuff costs more, obviously. But the like Chloe testing people to see if there was a spark there or whatever. He was one of the people that happened with, and I think that's the only period in that entire show where somebody is noted as mentioning that it was a waste of money to try and like figure out if there was a spark there. He looks like a cross between a Garbage Pail version of Andrew Dice Clay and a bad Elvis impersonator mashed together.
Yeah. Yeah. His
bad.
personality is it's so strange. He has like a weird confidence, even though he probably shouldn't. I love that Chloe's line when she first is talking to him, and he's like, "Yeah, I live in a houseboat," and she's like, "Well, I don't know if that means if you're a loser or if you're really rich."
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's because he's a loser. And then later he does this weird piano recital for everyone and like actually sucks.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Like really bad. That's probably one of my favorite parts, is when everyone collectively is just like, ooh.
Except at that point, for whatever reason.
Chloe.
Yeah, Chloe's into him for a little while. I don't know. I want to see. So I didn't watch the 9th episode. That's like the reunion, because I didn't feel like it was necessary.
I don't think I watched that either.
But this show seems more like bad anime storyline than any other like reality or like TV show I can think of. And I watch a lot of bad anime, so I feel like I can say that with confidence. Just the way the characters revolve around each other and the conflicts that are like almost completely meaningless, it works really well in that sense. Anyway, yeah, I would suggest watching it. It's short. Like it's shorter to watch that whole series than to watch like the Lord of the Rings stuff or anything like that. So if you're looking for a time killer, you should give it a shot.
It'll give you something to be kind of mad about for like a couple of hours. Yeah. Or just vaguely irritated.
If for no other reason than the fantastic montage they put together when Matthew, the Jesus guy, leaves, and he's talking about himself. He basically is saying like he's taught everybody there a lot, and it's time for him to head out on his own to like learn for himself. And he's making these like vaguely religious like allusions and stuff. And they also are showing everybody else talk about him at the resort thing, and they're also talking about him like he's such a genius, which apparently all you have to do is say you're a genius for that to be true there. And every time he mentions something amazing that he did or is like doing with people, they show a clip of him completely doing the opposite and being a complete moron. And it's perfectly done. Like that sums up the show in like a 1.5-minute long clip of just him saying like, I was really there to like teach people things. And that's just a like 5-second clip of him giving like the worst advice ever to people. It's really good. And they play it off in a like very like, I don't know, like the rest of the show, if you're not paying attention to it, if you're like doing something else, which I mostly was, you could miss it. Like it's a very like wry like sense of humor that they have for their like editing. but it works really well as like a closely watched show as well. I think at that point, because that's almost at the end, I was done with like my painting, so it was very funny when that came up finally. He also just leaves. It reminded me a lot of Drag Race All Stars 9, I think, when Ben de la Creme leaves, and it's the exact opposite version where like Ben de la Creme is a Seattle drag artist who killed it. Like the whole series, even the parts where they tried to play it up like, I don't know if they can do it, they would like nail it by the time it came around and win like almost every challenge and stuff. And then they drop out at like the third to last episode, basically saying like, I really like, I'm kind of a mix of like, I got overconfident and also I'm not enjoying this competition anymore. And I also feel like I'm making a lot of enemies by being here because I'm doing really well, but I don't feel like I necessarily deserve all of the credit. But of course it has then turned into like, a lot of the community started making Ben de la Christ pictures and stuff like that. And talking about like what a stuck-up asshole deciding they're too good for this competition, which personally I think it was done well, but it was a non-requested Jesus illusion that turned into the community talking about it, and it was like spun negatively, and this is the exact opposite, and I really enjoyed it. Of like, they came in being like, I'm Jesus, and then they like completely fucked up everything they did.
Yeah, and well, I love that he frames his leaving as, I have taught you all everything, I have nothing left to teach you, but he's really just leaving because he didn't make a single meaningful connection with any person.
Yeah,
he just leaves.
He didn't have anybody there who really wanted to like fuck him, basically,
or so even like talk to him that much. He just kind of sucked, and so I think I almost wished he had an exit like Haley's, because Haley's was just like, fuck y'all, I hate everybody here.
Yeah,
she was out. Like,
I think she literally like, was like flipping everybody off as she left.
She did.
Yeah,
she was like, I don't want to be here anymore, I'm not interested in anyone, clearly I can't fuck Francesca at any point during this time, so I'm over it. And she, beyond that, at least she was like true to herself, and she was like, I'm not gonna learn anything from this, so goodbye.
Yeah, I have known people who she reminded me of, and I'm extremely annoyed by that kind of person, but like, she
at
wasn't
least she's
wrong
up front. Like, yeah, like she knows herself. She's probably one of the more secure people there.
Yeah, definitely secure.
Yeah, which, you know, can be both a positive and a negative as you watch the show, but she's probably my favorite character, other than Kells, who's just spends the whole time being like stressed out.
Yeah, it is kind of funny that his anger drops off at like the midway point when they do the therapy stuff, but he's still just like turns into a character who's just sitting there like staring dead-eyed as they like tell them how much money they've lost again.
Like just dissociating, like not even in the room. That's
also so the end of that show was the only ending that I think they could have done, of like, we'll just split the money up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what other version of it would make any sense. So the fact that nobody seemed to pick up on that was also crazy.
Thanks for that. We're having some burping ASMR.
Yeah, I keep seeing like a little bit of Evan head pop up. I don't think that'll even show up in the final video, but it's funny as like it's almost like an Evan Pokemon that is just sort of in the room.
Oh.
There we go. Evan is way better at being in a room though than Nick. Nick is always like doing the like sneaky hands, but then like making a bunch of noise.
Yeah, this is pretty much the opposite, where he'll like slam a few things and then lay down quietly.
Yeah, where Nick will like lightly slam a bunch of stuff, but then act like, see, I'm being very quiet and sneaky.
Sneaky. Oh, that's really funny. We have a good cast of rotating roommates and characters of this podcast.
Once we're able to put more people in here, I'm sure we'll get even noisier, because if I remember when we were recording NSF Warehouse, Carrie being off to the side was practically yelling into like stories we were doing, so it should all work out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Look for more NSF Warehouse at some point. I was gonna try to spread them out into the COVID crisis so that there was an extra thing coming out, but we only have 3 episodes recorded, and I don't know if we're at the halfway point, so I don't know when I should put out another one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling more like closer to a quarter point, if not an 1/8 point. So.
Yeah, I'm confident that when we hit the next flu season, we'll probably have to have some level of stuff in place, but like, I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
I am incredibly sick of not being able to go to the museum. Like, that's pretty much my big regret, is that like I audio hang out with people on basically the same schedule now that I did before. I wish I could get exercise during the day easier, because it's all kind of at night now. It's gonna suck when it gets hot out, but like the museum and the art group and stuff like that, it's really tough. There's been no art openings that I can go to anymore. It's all like online stuff, and this is a problem that maybe only I am gonna have, but I've literally I have a tablet and a phone. I've literally had to go in and erase apps because of how many pictures I've been taking of to like flip through. And I literally last night ordered an external drive so that I can keep 100 gigs more data so that I can have like
more pictures.
Yeah, because last night I was at a point where I was like, well, the things that take up the most space are the podcasts and the pictures, and I need both. So I'm gonna have to just get more memory. That's my only option.
That's it. That's the only answer.
So that's a look into my weird, sad, solitary existence.
Yeah. We don't really have any museums or art things to miss around here.
Mean?
Yeah, I know. In the thriving metropolis that is the middle of fucking Idaho. No, I think the thing that I miss the most is going to coffee shops and pretending to work.
Yeah.
That's probably the thing I miss the most.
That is a really nice thing to be able to do.
Yeah. If I knew it was the last time, I would have pretended to work a little harder.
I mean, I actually...
I'm not going to go.
I really weirdly time things out perfectly, kind of by mistake and kind of by cynicism being right, which I find is usually true. I did a bunch of coffee shop and local food stuff right before everything shifted, because I also took the week off when I realized that if I didn't, my work might not even exist to take a week off, and my hours were going to compound. So I took a week off, got down to only 2 hours over what my time would erase at the, like, now it would have been a couple weeks ago that I hit my year marker. So like, at least as long as it works the same way as it does in the business laws, I should have 40 hours that roll over in this state setup because it's the state mandated stuff. Our work doesn't have part-timer hour stuff, but now it does because the state put it through this last summer. So I should still have it, but that last week I basically spent doing like social distancing, cafe runs, food runs, everything, and then like essentially I set everything up for when we were not going to be able to go to work anymore, and it was the perfect thing because I got a week of pay after when I would have gotten it, which is great because I'm getting completely like zero money boned on all of my unemployment, so that week is helping out a lot. I set up the front room so that I have like a weird like side swooping art couch basically with like tables around it where I can like work on stuff. And I took that week to like start setting up how I was going to do all of my like my isolation like mail kind of stuff. So I feel really good about my accidental preparedness.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty smooth transition.
Yeah. Somebody's alarm was going off somewhere.
Uh-oh.
Not mine.
Fire alarm?
No, it was a phone alarm.
Oh.
Our acoustics in this apartment mean that anything from an open window bounces off our stone wall thing and into our window. So
that's a fun thing.
I can hear a lot of it. My only hope is that the 3 apartments that make tons of noise and like are plugging in speakers and stuff lately hear this entire podcast.
They're actually our biggest fans. They're our most frequent listeners.
Yeah. First time, long time. They're going to start yelling down into the window. This week has been really like, aside from the start of the week, my upper back got kind of fucked up. But I think that was actually, it keeps being tied really closely to when I like work out a little too much, which like I'm having trouble rationing that stuff out because my usual lifestyle is I'm walking constantly, and when I'm not walking, then I'm working on stuff. So the muscles in my lower back and my like leg muscles and everything are usually getting some kind of activity. So like things are not like seizing up or anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest hurdle, is because now it all happens in like small chunks of time. Like my schedule is inverted, where I have to take time to like go do something outside in the middle of the night, basically, and it then leading to like an entire day of like, I can't really even stand all day in this apartment because I can't do anything from a standing position. Like everything we have is down if I'm standing at like knee level. So like I can't reach anything and stand even. It's frustrating. The only thing I can do standing is work at the easel, and even that is a French easel, so it's not very tall. So, you know, unless I want to start screwing things into the wall to do stuff, it's going to be like that.
Yeah, I need to start either doing some more frequent walks, although like we're walking pretty frequently because there's really not a whole lot else to do. But
at least you have a walking partner. That's good. That can be good for like doubling up on conversation and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is nice. Well, he's only here. He's starting this week. He's only going to be here like 2 to 3 days a week.
Right.
So that limits my walking time kind of a lot because during the day I'm mostly just working, and I prefer to walk in the evenings, but I don't prefer to walk by myself in the evenings. Not
right.
A lot. So we'll see. But yeah, I need to create some sort of like yoga-ing schedule or Pilates or something, and just do something because I can feel my it's yeah, I can feel my body just like being sad about the
Yeah.
situation.
My work schedule is standing for 8 hours once a week and like working on stuff. And my tall person hips are garbage right now because of my schedule. So I'm actually where I was standing all day and then walking for hours after work, and like I never even felt it. Now I do feel it, and it sucks. It makes more sense why people constantly talk to me about how like my lifestyle was not attainable, because most of my friends didn't have to stand all day at work. So they already felt that, but now I'm really jealous of my past self being able to do that. My only real option is I could start just doing work in the kitchen and like standing at the kitchen table, but then I would literally be in the kitchen all day, and I don't know if that's safe for somebody like me. Somebody who specifically has food during our podcast so that I can never not be eating.
Yeah. I need to. I need to. Oh, ooh! Actually, I'm excited for this evening. I had planned to make like zucchini noodle, like teriyaki zucchini noodles.
Yeah.
Like fried noodles. I'm excited to do that. I haven't done it in a while.
I'm excited that you reminded me to get my Seamless app updated so I can make sure that that's all ready to go.
Yes, that needs to be primed and ready to go.
So before we get to our questionnaire, if do you have that handy for questioning?
The questionnaire?
Yeah, I think I sent it at like had to be like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Oh, okay, let me.
I should also have it accessible somewhere. Again, I take way too many pictures. I just scrolled past 12 paintings of Batman.
So it looks like this questionnaire came up on your Facebook feed.
Yes. Also, these got cut off somehow? That's really frustrating and weird.
I think I have all of them.
Yeah.
Looks like there's 29.
Are your questions cut off?
I don't think so.
Weird.
They look like they're all here.
Okay, my picture size got fucked up somehow. So maybe we should
I
use
can send them to you.
Yeah, that might be easier.
Yeah, I'll just.
While we're working on getting that set up, I do have one more thing that happened to me this week, and it's this.
I do. That sounds very nice.
So I spent the last day tuning this. I finally got it at the end of the week. So like 5 weeks after I ordered it. But when it came, I'm showing you the top bar of the keys. When it came, these were all even, like they had set them in and sent it. So I had to go through and hammer them down to like tune them all. But now it's not tuned perfectly. Like the pitch is a little bit off, but not off of its actual notes. Like I'm not getting flats where there should be like sharps or anything weird like that. What I just said doesn't entirely make sense, but unless you care about music, you probably wouldn't care anyway.
I don't.
But it's close enough. Something that has tones in this style, I think having it be a little bit like shaky on like a centered tone doesn't really matter to me. So I have basically spent like an hour like learning where the fingerings are and stuff like that a little better. And it's got a good sound to it. And for the price, it was like $25. It's a very good version of this. But you have essentially you have a scale up each side, and it has 17 notes. And then the two very far side ones don't have enough reverberation to do much, but as you get closer to the center and the keys get longer, you get a nice tone. And most of what you're going to do is based off this like center C, so it sounds pretty good. The only weird thing about this is it's not set up like a proper mbira, like the African style instrument. The keys are all different sizes, and they actually lay in different places. And that allows them to kind of like put notes that work better closer to each other and in places that are more like intuitive. They also have a second layer, and a lot of the keys are like much thicker because, you know, human fingers. But this is a kalimba style where it's all like closely laid together, and it's a nice setup for simple stuff, and most of what I wanted it for is simple stuff, so it works well. They do make ones though that are like $170 that I'm super jealous of and will probably get someday when I have extra money like that. It is the traditional style ones that you can use for like music production, and they have an amp hookup.
Oh, that's cool.
So I could hook it up to my amp and have like a full, I want to say it's like a 29 key is like the more like Mbira style, like full one. I'm sure there's kalimba that have a hookup too, but I don't know what you would basically use this as like percussion or like a very simple like piano kind of thing for that. But
I really like the
very
sound
happy
that
with
it makes. Yeah.
It's also very easy to get conflicting notes. Which is also nice. But yeah, I just wanted to share that. This is my ukulele purchase.
I'm strongly in favor of quarantine instrument purchases.
Mm-hmm. It's also something that's like all the other instruments I have are pretty large. The thing that I can like lay in bed and play, which I do, is my 3-string guitar. And that's great, but it is kind of louder. Like it's my dad's old acoustic guitar that he gave to me when it got cracked, like the back started separating. And that I took off a string that was like kind of fucked up. I didn't have replacements. And then I restrung it a bit so that I could like place them a little better and retune them to something I wanted to use. And now it's basically designed to play bass notes a little more.
That's cool.
And that reverberates the broken part, so I can get really strange tones out of it. And you can like squeeze two of the strings together for tones that like shake the bottom and sort of make like a weird bass emulating kind of thing. So I really like playing that, but it is not the most pleasant thing for people near me, I don't think.
That's kind of cool. It seems like you've sort of created your own new instrument.
It's newish in a way. All right, so to set up this next thing, so at the beginning there, when it says Q semicolon, I assume that these are being taken off of QAnon. Because when I first saw that, I was like, that's a weird way to delineate, like, that you're asking questions because it doesn't line up with anything. Also, it's Q, semicolon, common sense questions, semicolon, and then the description. So I didn't feel like looking this up. I'm sure if you type these in, this looks like it's set up almost like a chain letter style thing, which unfortunately means anybody who's, over 25 is probably going to see this and be like, that's a great idea if they're into this weird patriotic garbage. So I thought we should. I have seen this kind of stuff pop up for a while, and I think a lot of people have. These are the common sense questions that people who at least identify with conservative, and I think this is much more towards like neoconservative, like talking points. These are the questions they're trying to address to, say, people in Idaho about how their rights are being infringed. So I thought this would be a good time for us to go down the list of these questions and maybe just give our answers for why these things are the way they are, because they seem, in the few that I read through, like, depending on how you answer this, it's a entirely possible to be left-wing option of this as well.
Yeah, some of these questions I'm not even sure that I really understand what they're going for.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. I think just sort of touching on them should be enough, because some of these questions, I know I saw one that was like, that's an incredibly stupid question for holding up your point. And that's part of what kind of gave me that idea in the first place. Also, the questions you sent me are not cut off, so something happened to mine just in my phone, I guess.
Spooky.
Yeah. Probably Q. They got
you.
That 17-year-old like mom's basement kid got into my phone.
Oh no. He just cut off part of the questions. That'll show him.
They won't know what
your
number
podcast
this is.
now.
What does outside mean? All right. So I'm going to read the little lead up to this that I believe is the top of the actual chain letter and not the introduction by the person who posted it.
Okay.
I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, or vote for unicorns. If you're not asking these questions, you should be. These are the important questions folks need to be asking themselves. Interesting.
American flag emoji.
American flag. So I think we should just trade off on each question, and we'll both answer, but that way our reading can delineate where the questions are, maybe.
Okay.
All right. Do you want to start?
Sure, let's do this. So why can you go to Walmart but not Kohl's?
All right. I can only guess. I'm gonna say Walmart probably has better loopholes and is in more places where states don't care, and Kohl's probably is trying to limit infection. I bet Kohl's also has a trending older set of people who go there, so it may just be a let's not kill off our intended audience.
I also feel like maybe I am missing a background on this. Like, is Kohl's just closed right now or something?
No idea. Yeah. I'm guessing it has to do, like most things right now, with workers' rights and Walmart being very against them. Also, I would guess that Walmart's workers are paid less and can't live off of unemployment. So, like, they're probably more desperate and more willing to risk their lives going to their workplace. I don't know. That would be my guess. What is the intended answer, though?
This was one of the ones that confused me because, first of all, if Kohl's is closed, that's not widespread knowledge, I don't think.
I don't think so.
And the way that I understood the question was like, why is Walmart still open and Kohl's is like maybe not? And my initial answer would be because Walmart is a grocery store and Kohl's is not.
Yeah.
Like, that seems more essential to me, but I feel like that's not what they're getting at. This
I
would
think
confuse
I
me.
think the sensible approach is probably not what they're getting at on these. Okay.
Fair.
Question 2: why the dollar store and not a mom and pop shop? I'm gonna guess they mean why are dollar stores open and not mom and pop shops?
Yeah, that's not a complete.
What do you think?
Why dollar stores would be open right now?
Yeah.
And not mom and pop shops?
Do you
Probably
think
because
it's the exact same thing?
yeah. Dollar stores are chains. So, I mean, typically.
Dollar stores also have groceries. Like,
Yeah.
typically speaking, the dollar store that the security guard got shot and killed in front of for telling people to put masks on has groceries in it.
Yeah. I also just would love to know, what is a mom and pop shop? Like, explain to me. I love the phrasing because it's so like, oh, you know, we all know what a mom and pop shop is, but like, no, explain what. They just mean small businesses, I guess.
I think so. But using the word small businesses probably isn't too in vogue right now, since small businesses are getting fucking fucked by everybody, and everybody on the conservative side and the left side really is being told that's fine. I really love a mom and pop, like literal mom and pop grocery. It's run by a family next to Cohen Park called Cohen Grocery. They have like a little cafe in there, and they have like pretty well priced goods that are almost all packaged goods. And they also like basically have their own mini daycare because they have small children.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that place is a phase 2 open, like most places that are like goods markets. And the fact that they are not strictly like grocery may not matter, but again, that mom and pop shop might have been open the whole time. Like, it is technically essentials for people in that area, but it's also close enough to things like a Whole Foods and stuff like that maybe it isn't. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Like, that's my thought on a mom and pop shop, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. So basically the same question for the first two.
Yeah.
All right. Am I reading number 3? Is it my turn or your turn?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay. Why can't you have an elective surgery, but you can have an abortion, which is elective?
Leading the witness?
I reject the premise of all of these questions. Yeah. This is stupid. First of all, you can... Well, no, actually, not have an elective... Why can't you have an elective surgery, but you can... Yeah. Where do I begin? Where do I start to argue with this? Abortion is healthcare. It might be an elective surgery, but I just don't...
Like, I currently have elective surgeries that I need done on my teeth. I have 3 finalized caps that need to be put on still, and have needed them since the year started. Mm-hmm. But that isn't important compared to people living.
Right.
Abortions, not only are they not elective in the same way, but they also have a very tight time limit.
Yeah.
Because of all of the other laws that are imposed on them to start with. So, like, you kind of have to. And if you don't, your life is potentially destroyed, depending on like
elective
abilities.
Surgery is too big of a bucket for this. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not the same thing. Like, if if you're putting like fillers and injections in the same category as a fucking abortion, that's just a dishonest premise for the question.
Yeah, if I'm gonna go get what is essentially like augmentations or like microblading or something, maybe that's not so important while we're all stuck at home, you know? But yeah, that is a stupid question, and I expect there are going to be a bunch more. Here comes number 4.
Right.
Why should you stay inside, but yet heat and sunlight kill the virus? Simple answer.
Well,
Heat and sunlight that kill the virus also kill you. That's the heat and sunlight argument is trying to say that like UV light kills viruses and heat kills viruses. The amount of UV sunlight and the amount of heat that are needed for that, the reason why you get that done at a doctor when those things are done is because it has to be very pinpoint, and it has to be done in ways that don't damage your body as much. If you were to hook yourself up with UV to kill a virus, first off, it would just be external. That would really damage your body. Like that is going to damage the virus in the same way that it's going to give you like burns all over your body.
right.
I think people got caught up on that idea of UV light because there's like, I don't know, TV shows and shit that make it seem like UV light is magical, but it isn't.
We do have a certain president that suggested that would be a saving grace.
Yeah.
Yeah, the heat and UV light that would be needed to actually treat any of that shit is not the UV light or heat you would be exposed to if you were just outside. And also the whole staying inside thing is primarily to limit transmission of the virus between people. It's not to, like, I don't know, not kill it. I don't know. So yeah, that's dumb.
It's very dumb.
Number 5. Why can't kids who are not at risk play on an outdoor playground where sun kills this virus? Okay, C question or answers to question 4 for the second half of that. That's the sun doesn't kill the virus. And like, have you ever met a child? They're just germ monsters. They're carriers. They're a human being that'll carry the virus. Just because they're not at risk to get it doesn't mean they can't share it with other people.
Yeah.
Kids are germ.
I think these questions show that people's understanding of like sun and heat limits the amount that the virus can travel. It makes it tougher for you to get sick. Like, as far as I understand it, that is why flu seasons also work the way they do, is because 1, immunity builds up, and 2, like you're just gonna have like limited transmission based on like, hey, I coughed on the swing set and then it was in direct sunlight for hours. It's less likely to get to other people because it has been sitting there. If you put your child in direct sunlight like that for hours, that's not going to be a good option for like health. And also they would have to just not touch their like personal openings until that was done. And good luck with that shit. Luck. Using the in parentheses who are not at risk is really annoying. I feel like this is the US inner monologue as well. The like, well, it's not a problem. I'm okay with getting sick, like that bullshit.
Who are not at risk? Well, the whole point of this is that there's a very specific part of the population that is at risk.
Yeah.
And we're trying not to kill them. Like, please?
That uptick, like very severe uptick of that one like syndrome that they're seeing in children since this started, that also is frustrating. Like what Kawasaki syndrome, I think it's called. It's it is causing heart issues in children, and they don't have like a direct link to it, but this is the only time it's ever had a like tick up in its like cases that they've seen. So maybe
Right.
it's testing. Maybe it's just the fact that they're like looking for things.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
there are people who are pretty worried that that is actually like being exacerbated by children's response to this, and that basically causes you to have like issues with your circulation and heart, which is not something you want kids having. So maybe
Right.
it's best to be safe.
I mean, the brazenness to just come out and say that kids aren't at risk when we don't even have a vaccine for this thing
We don't
yet.
even have testing that's
We don't-
proper to
we-
like
yeah.
see if kids are dying from it.
Yeah, we don't like we've been paying attention closely for maybe 2
Yeah.
2.5 months. This thing, we haven't even seen it like play out long term in hardly anybody yet. So how can you claim to know the long term effects of a disease in children? Like, that's stupid.
So next question. Why don't people know that these are recommendations, in quotations, not laws, because they have not gone through due process?
I don't know. Why do you not know that it's a recommendation? Not laws because they have not. Okay. That also, I don't think this person really understands due process.
No. Also, this is from the same type of people who are saying that Fauci is like a authoritarian, trying to force everybody to do this. He is literally giving recommendations. That is his job. So, like, if they understand that these are recommendations and not laws, why are they calling for Fauci to be, like, imprisoned? Like, doesn't that go against what they're saying in this question?
Yeah.
I guess reality isn't that important when you're dealing with this set of questions, but it's still, like, the weird anti-science thing that everybody's doing for a while now, but like especially now, seems to just use that as rules when it is beneficial to them to say it.
Yeah. It seems like people don't even, I don't know, there's definitely a very American thing that's just kind of looking for things to be upset about.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, there's it's not like really laws in place. I mean, it's pretty much just state issued guidelines. And I think in some areas there are somewhat kind of consequences for not like following things, like you might get fined.
There were
something.
Yeah, and it depends. Like the Californian reports I've heard are like you're asked not to do things essentially, and you can get fined. I want to say it was like several $1,000s in Washington if you're caught like operating a hairdressing like salon or something like that without
yeah, someone in Texas like went to jail for that. I saw.
Like it's one of those things that it makes total sense to like try to enforce that. I don't have a very specific opinion on like what the punishment should be, but I have very specific opinions on how you could avoid that, and it's paying small businesses to not be open. But I have a feeling we're going to get to that in the next question.
All right. Why is it okay for government officials to get a haircut, but not common citizens?
This is actually the question I saw that I was like, we should talk about this. I think this is a good thing to put on the podcast.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, right?
Yeah. Like the fact that
I think we're all on the same page here.
The fact that there are like people who are doing sort of private like okayed haircuts for like I think they said that Trump is getting those. I forget exactly, but I know that there are politicians getting haircuts. I do think that should be, honestly, I think that should be like fined and punished the same way anybody else doing it would. Again, the way to deal with haircuts is to pay all the people who do haircuts their wages from the country. It's worth it. Like, everybody needs to give up on their hair being what they wanted it to be for a little while. And you've proven out you can do shit to your hair on your own. You don't have to be like completely letting things go. You probably have time to worry about like how to do things with your hair at this point. But yeah, it's not okay. It shouldn't be happening, and there should be more complaints about that in general. But apparently, the complaint is that that's a conservative issue, I guess.
I guess. I mean, they're really onto something there. We just need to follow the thought to the logical conclusion, and we haven't quite gotten there. Oh God.
So number 8, why the fear when this virus has less than a 1% death rate?
Oh my God. I've heard this so many times in the last week from so many people. And the response that I've seen a lot of people give is like, okay, well, 1%, or whatever the death rate, like in your circle of friends and family, who is the one person out of 100 that you're willing to let fucking die?
No.
Like, who? Why does that number matter? It's like,
also,
I don't
like, if you chose the 1% of people who died, you could kill off literally like every person who holds, what was it, like the percentage of money in our country? It's like 50% to 60% that's held by like 1% of the people at this point.
Yeah.
Like you could solve all of our financial issues in an instant if that was how it worked. That's how impactful it is. Like you can't look at 1% of the people who catch it being the death rate and say, it doesn't matter.
That's a huge number of people.
Yeah.
Like to say this question, all of these questions are dumb, but this specific question shows a real lack of understanding the context of the situation, or even just fucking math. Like,
also the 1% death rate I have heard both lower and higher.
Me too.
I think at certain points people were saying we're seeing a like almost 3% death rate because it was hitting a lot of elderly people first. So like that's also based on information of like who it's hitting. And while 1% might be the blanket, like consider like one of the places that I worked in my work history, that would mean that in an office, 4 of those people would be dead. Like that's a significant thing.
Yeah.
You can't just look at that and say like, well, it probably won't be me, so who cares?
Yeah. And then going back to, we don't know the long-term effects of this thing, and the forget the death rate, the percentage of people who have it or like probably have it is huge. Like it's very, very infectious. So
and if you turn that into like more and more people, like if you want to avoid that being you or your kids or your family, like why would you say let's go to church? Like why would you say let's go to like our place of work? Like all of that stuff is going to include huge risks.
And I mean, this doesn't even acknowledge the fact that like who is the 1% of people who are dying? Because it's not white people, it's not like your upper middle class, it's like lower income communities of color who are going to suffer because they are not going to get like the support, and there's no like safety net for this thing. It's the question doesn't even acknowledge who are the people that are going to die, because it's not going to be this whoever is sharing this probably.
Yeah. All right. The next one is yours.
Okay. Number 9. Why have coroners questioned death certificates listed as COVID-19? Have
Probably,
they?
if they have, it's probably because it's their job. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. This question feels like there's a conspiracy to it that I'm not willing to entertain.
This is the question version of Ancient Aliens, where it's like, why did they make this hieroglyphic that looked like a spaceship to us now? I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you watched it, but that video that I was watching. Oh no, yeah, you did. Of the doctor guy was talking about pandemic, and in that documentary, they're talking about how doctors are encouraged to list COVID-19 as the cause of death because they get more money. And he explained actually like how that is and why that is, and not that they're getting encouraged to do that necessarily, but
yeah, it's an increase in funding for the shit you need to help those people / your efforts, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and oh, there was something else I was gonna say that I can't really remember, but no, never mind.
Something about flu season, because I feel like that was something he touched on in that
video
as well.
I remember him talking about how like there can be multiple causes of death, but if the person has COVID, that will be listed on the death certificate as one of the things. So yeah,
and having COVID-19 is effective enough on the human body to where it's something you should note. Like, besides just being statistics that some people hate, you should probably say they had this.
I mean, it's kind of important to keep track of it during a pandemic, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
This one's really stupid. That's not going to end. Why are areas like Chicago and New York gearing up for mass vaccination?
I'm out of wine. I need more wine for this.
You could get it. I'm much faster running out of this lazy juice than I expected.
It's going away too fast.
Also, adding gin and juice to your Mai Tai, I strongly suggest it. It is a good idea.
Sounds pretty good right now. Why are areas like Chicago and New York gearing up for mass vaccination?
I guess
because
why are areas like the United States of America gearing up for mass vaccination?
Why? Because at some point there is going to be a vaccine and it needs to be distributed. You fucking dumbass. Like, that should be more cities, but it's not.
It may as well say, why would we ever have a plan for this? And then like a cartoon of somebody pointing outside. Like, the fuck are you talking about? That is maybe the most on its face anti-vax thing so far, of just like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I like how they preface it as like, I don't care what your politics are, but you should really be thinking about these common sense questions. And then there's some serious like leading questions, and also the way these things are framed. Obviously, this person is not in favor of the vaccinations. Like, there's obviously a slant to this.
Yeah.
Very okay. 11. What makes one person essential and another not? Absolutely nothing. If you're talking about the right to be alive, nothing. Like, everyone should be alive. That's a given. But if they're talking about characterizing people with jobs, which is, I think, probably what they're...
Yeah. Well, no, I think they are characterizing it as people. I think that's the whole point of that.
Yeah.
it seems like maybe you're essential if your job helps keep people alive. That's probably essential. But,
Yeah. Yeah, that I think that's pretty much I think they're trying to just equate your whatever your job is with whether or not you should be alive or not, or whether you're worth saving, basically.
yeah.
So, yeah, what you said.
God damn it. Hey, why are they dividing us?
Yeah, why? I want to know. Yeah, I really wish people would stop politicizing this pandemic and dividing us. Wow. Do we have to answer this?
I don't know if there's an answer to this.
There's not.
Like, yeah, I think, yeah, let's just move on. There's nothing about that.
I love the just ominous they. Who are you talking? Why are they dividing us? Okay. 13. How do people not know we are a republic, not a democracy? I actually don't understand what's happening in this question.
Yeah, I think people not knowing that we are a republic, it seems like they're taking like weird assumptive like lessons from like 10th grade.
Yeah.
And saying like, well, I was the only one who paid attention to this when we described what we are. Like, I don't know
this
how
seems
else
like
you
a vocab word question.
Yeah. Also, I don't know, like that. The people who are caught up on that are the exact same people who are like constitutionalists. Like, well, we got to do it by the letter. It says we can have slaves, right? Like those kinds of fucking people where like I just want to completely dismiss them as soon as that kind of fucking questioning comes in.
The next one's really, really good.
Yeah. Okay. So number 14, where is the flu gone? So Madison, where's
is this a good time for me to plug my musical coming out in 2021 called Where Has the Flu Gone?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really good.
Where has the flu gone?
So they actually talk about this in that same video you were talking about as well. But hey, people talk about this everywhere. So this is a reference point, but it's not actually like the proof. Flu season is pretty much over. And the CDC stopped recording it in April, but you can still go look at the flu statistics, and they're almost entirely the same as last year. Like, I don't know what you want. That information's there.
This is very much the Alex Jones move of like posing a question that you could very easily Google and then using the fact that you're posing the question as your evidence. Like, okay.
Like, I'm surprised that question doesn't have a parentheses, they're lying to us.
We need more ominous theys in these questions. Is it my turn?
You're on odds.
I'm losing it. Okay, thank you. 15. Why do the homeless consistently demonstrate the lowest infection rates? I don't know where that information is coming from.
I want to see any proof of that ever. Because I'm pretty sure that is more of a you don't feel like acknowledging homeless people kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess they show one of the fastest infection rates if they get it in their community, if I had to guess. But then also the homeless in this area, I've noticed, are not talking to anyone and are avoiding everybody. So for the most part, I would say it's probably because they don't have a job and they're not going anywhere, and the only place they're going to catch it is like digging through things that you already put somewhere. So if they do have lower infection rates, it's probably just a side effect of like not living with people.
Yeah, and I also don't know what organization or agency would be in charge of getting that information and how effective. I would question their effectiveness, especially in the US. So
the only, I don't know, the places that tend to care a lot about their homeless and tend to catalog their homeless in some fashion also tend to be the places that are trying to put the most measures in to keep this contained. So you're probably going to have weird numbers. I'm guessing that places like, I don't know, Alabama are probably like homeless. Who gives a fuck about that? I'm sure that somebody's trying to keep track of it, but I bet there's not a whole lot of government looking at it. So that seems like a non-question.
Yeah.
Why are they telling us to mask up after 2 months of lockdown? Science, probably?
Probably the fact that everybody is against science recommendations opening things up again, and people are outside, and they should, at the very barest of minimums, cover their fucking face hole, because that's how you stop this from spreading.
And this is more anecdotal. I heard this from several different people, but not notably from somebody who was like giving a science lecture. The thing that I heard that had to do with this like a week and a half ago was masks were added in even though they weren't something that we were initially doing because they were unnecessary if we actually followed through on what we were trying to do in the first place. So like masks were added in because they realized that if we didn't start saying people had to wear masks, people were just going to keep living completely normally. And by adding masks in, we were at least adding to the chances that we didn't leave infection on surfaces and other people. So at the beginning, it was suggested that if you're sick and have to go anywhere, wear a mask. But now we almost have to run as though everyone's sick because everyone's just fucking off and not taking care of it. So like, if we don't start saying masks are necessary, we're going to have a bigger problem at this point. So yeah, sort of from what I have heard, it was a measure put into place because it got to the point where it was so bad that it had to be put into place. And I think it wasn't initially because if you put that into place here, everybody's going to complain. And they were trying to avoid that because, you know, what happened exactly as it happened was already sort of anticipated as like the response. So it didn't, you know what, it probably did help to avoid that till later in terms of the like protests, but it didn't fix it. So like, why not have that as a measure now? There was something else in there that I was thinking of, but maybe it'll come back later. It's just very frustrating.
Where did it go?
17.
Yeah, this person's just not understanding where we are on the timeline of things, because I seem to recall scientists being like, hey, if you overreact early, you don't have to do this shit later.
Yeah.
And we didn't do that. So that's why you're wearing a mask 2 months later. 17, why is the CDC saying kids need to be masked when this is the same fucking question? When they return to school or attend church, when they know cloth masks restrict oxygen? Well,
it's so stupid.
Because they want all the kids to be dumb. That's why. They're trying to deprive all of the children of oxygen so they get real dumb. And so they become very pliable citizens, and you can make them do what you want. That's why. This is the same question as earlier, and it's stupid.
The restricting oxygen thing is also a weird narrative that I don't really understand where it came from.
I want to know how this person is wearing their masks that they are suffocating under them.
There's so many goddamn people who wear masks for their job, like without this shit. I regularly have to wear a mask for upwards of like 4 hours at work before any of this happened, just to avoid like harmful particles and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not a new thing.
And I have not turned any dumber yet. I have also not turned into a libtard. I started there. So, like, I'm not seeing any effects from that. And I'm wearing masks that technically restrict more oxygen and are like an actual, like, dust mask. And I think those are vital tools right now for, like, people to not spread things to other people. And just to be clear, when you are working with like medical staff, they're the most at risk. So they're trying not to give it to you, and they're trying not to give it to other people. Yeah. It's not so they don't smell you or some shit. Like it's not like a don't touch my mouth thing. It's literally so they don't do what the rest of us are trying not to do and spread it to people.
Yep.
Ooh. What is this oppression and loss of liberty doing to the mental health of our kids? To us?
Oppression is a real. There's some real word choice there.
How is this loss of liberty affecting you?
Me personally? Other than I've taken a hit on like income wise because things just generally suck now. That's not a liberty though. I would say my liberties as a person have not been infringed upon. It's just harder to be a person, and that's could have been helped earlier on by our government, but
I want to say the only way that this can be like held up is if you're listening to like I think it was a Texas delegate who was like, they want me to wear a mask in the shower, and I say no, and it's that kind of thing of like, nobody asked you to wear a mask.
Nobody's asking you to do that.
Even on your own property, you can wear a mask nowhere in your house and in your yard, and everybody's fine with it.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the time, if you're not in a grocery store or close to people outside, you cannot be wearing a mask, and people are like, that's fine. Even here at the epicenter of where it started, at least like, you know, when we started reporting on it, people don't wear masks when they're out on walks and stuff. I do because I want to get used to it being comfortable for when I go to work, but like it's not an issue for like liberty. Like I don't get it.
Nobody's liberties are being infringed upon, and oppression is such a loaded word. Please, these types of people should stop saying oppression forever. You're almost never actually being oppressed.
Yeah.
I really love the mental health card though. That's fun. Didn't see that one coming. I'm not sure what the correlation between my loss of liberty and my mental health, but
yeah, I think it's some sort of like, it's a question coming from the kinds of people who are like, why are they doing this kind of psyop against us in like normal everyday life?
Yeah. Okay. Oh my god.
Yeah.
19 why have most other death rates dropped since the virus? Because you're not outside. People are not driving as much. People are not outside as much. We're staying inside. A lot of, like, if you see the breakdown of all these like the causes of death, like I remember I was talking to my mom about this. We were talking about New York had posted their death rates and causes and all that like a month ago.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, it's going down," but it's like, "Oh, this is the COVID one, and the all the other ones are going down because people are inside." That's that's my answer. That's a really stupid question.
Yeah, people, and also I often hear from like government / like media sources, and I tend to believe this particular line, which is, we don't really have a good beat on domestic abuse yet in this situation, so like we should probably wait to pass judgment on like what kind of crime is going up and down until we get like good numbers on that kind of shit, because we are in a place where people who are living with abusers are much more likely to get fucked over.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of number might actually reveal like where that aggression and shittiness is going, if you have people who would normally be causing other problems outside.
Yeah.
So also keep in mind, it's harder to get drunk in public and stuff like that. Like things that cause you to get to a point where crimes happen, it's tougher to do when you're outside. So that stuff's happening inside now instead.
Yeah.
A
real dumb question.
God damn it. Hey, why did world leaders meet in China in October 2019?
I don't know. Did they?
Honestly, yeah, I don't know, but also like
they do that occasionally.
We do have like a country alliance with people where we go talk to them as leaders, right? Like,
as far as I'm aware,
isn't that part of like
being a country?
Our giant step down since our president shifted was that world leaders lost respect for our president. I don't think that's because they've never met him. Like, he is going there and meeting them and being an idiot to their face. So
yeah.
That one's easy and stupid.
Yeah, that one's pretty easy. 21. Why are the common people being controlled by the government and no one is controlling the government? Interesting phrasing. Or okay, first of all, I'd be curious to hear from the author.
Yeah.
who the common people are.
Also, who the government is in this.
Yeah. I really want to know who everyone is in this scenario. I think that would help me answer the question.
Yeah. Do you mean that state governments are having to take responsibility for their own people? Because that's due to the federal government fucking us all over, not due to like wild government overreach. Like, I mean, it is kind of. They are selling us stockpiles of health goods that we're supposed to have access to in a crisis instead of divvying them out to us. So, like, in that sense, there is government overreach, but in the purely negative way.
Yeah.
Also, states' rights is an issue for conservatives, so why would that be an issue? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, the use of the word controlling is also really interesting.
Yeah. Controlling the common people being recommendations, which they stated earlier, that they are recommendations, not like mandates.
Yeah.
So, like, what is the control exactly?
How are you being controlled?
That's like it's the same fucking argument as the abortion stuff of like, we want this medical procedure to be available to people who need it. And then the other side of the argument says, why are you forcing us to get abortions? Is it white genocide? Like, What?
All right.
All right. Next question.
All right.
This one's quick because we already did it.
Yeah, we did. Are you gonna read it?
Yep.
Read it.
I'll read it.
Okay.
Why are hospitals paid more for COVID-19 deaths?
We already said why.
Reiteration, COVID-19 takes a lot of specific stuff to control. So you kind of need more money to deal with it. And also, it's sort of a misnomer from the start. So, whatever. Don't care about that one anymore. All right, 23.
No. Why are some doctors speaking out and then getting silenced? Again, like, proof, please.
Yeah.
Show me that.
I haven't seen any proof of that. If by doctor you mean that asshole from Plandemic, yeah, probably because it's not science that they're talking about. It's like weird feelings that they have.
And also, explain to me how anyone was silenced, because we watched the documentary. So it's out there. Like, just because Netflix doesn't want to carry your fucking bullshit, that's not your right to be carried by Netflix or Hulu. So I don't think you're really being silenced.
That people actually correlated the things with real laws, because like, this is the perfect time for people to understand that this is what capitalism does to your rights as a person anyway. Mm-hmm. All of these digital platforms that we have are private businesses in some way or another. So, like, you don't have a right to have your voice on them at all. It's not protected. So, like, if you get taken off of Twitter or you get taken off of Facebook, that's their right. They can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about? If you wanted those rights, we would have the internet set as a neutral system, which they stripped away like 3 years ago. And we would also have like internet access as a utility. Like, then we could say it's our rights, but it's not. Also, I don't know if you listened to this episode already, but knowledge fight fact coming in. The fact that Plandemic has the most views of like anything on Alex Jones's website is frustrating.
Yeah.
But I do like that his videos do not have very many views. That does make me happy.
That was a fun little tidbit of information. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, Logan Paul has more influence on our society than hopefully Alex Jones, which isn't great still. Logan Paul's a piece of
that
shit.
Makes me want to walk out in the street and just die.
Yeah, but the good news is Logan Paul probably isn't going to get anyone killed. He's just, a piece of shit.
He's just going to film it and put it on YouTube.
That dead body! God damn it, piece of shit. Anyway, at least people, like, slightly punish him for that shit. Like, he did get blowback from that. He's still a fucking millionaire asshole kid, but whatever. I don't even know if he's probably in his, late 20s, but whatever.
I think I've said this on the podcast before, but I am so weirdly fascinated with these stupid YouTube dramas. So I deeply immersed myself in that whole thing. And I guess sort of he came out with like a bunch more subscribers and more money. He didn't lose his YouTube Red series or whatever. So I guess.
I wish people were more interested in shitty makeup scandals and less interested in this weird Aryan fuckboy. It would be a better world, but
by far. Okay.
All right. We're on 24, right?
Yep.
Okay. So Why did Obama give the Wuhan lab $3 to $4 million? Madison.
I don't.
Also, I think because people heard that the Wuhan lab existed in this country in the last few months, they think that it's all of a sudden some sort of like insurgent, like science, like I don't know, terrorism group or something.
Yeah.
It's just a science lab. Like it's like if somebody said, "Why did the British government give, I don't know, give the Oxford something something money to do blank?" Like, I don't have any proof that Obama gave money to this. Also, if money went to them, I bet Obama didn't hand it to them. I bet it was our government funding something.
No, he flew there in his tan suit, handed it over, wrote the check.
Already using that shitty like rationale that something during the Obama years got funded in like one of the Carolinas or Dakotas or some shit, and then that like had information that was traded with China for something. What about that is suspicious? Like, I know that people are like trying to push this weird like science hacking narrative between countries now, but like we already hack each other all the time to try and know what each other are doing because our fucking governments are garbage. But like at the same time, why should the science community be restricted from sharing information? Like that doesn't translate into funding. Like it could if you're actually thinking about economics in a way that should lead you towards communism or towards socialism, where it's like we should all be sharing our labor. Like that's something that would make our entire civilization better. But instead, people only pick out stuff like that if it benefits them to be like, well, that's money they're stealing. Like, fuck off.
Yeah. And I there is kind of a hint of this is on purpose and this is a bioweapon sort of thought I feel happening here. And people really love to call bioweapon, but if this is actual like bioterrorism, bioweapon, whatever, it is executed so poorly. It's in every country. Like, who are you trying to target? Is it like a terrorist weapon against old people? Like, who are you targeting with this?
Are they trying to take out the conservatives? Because like that's really the only thing you could link to it. And that would be a great narrative if it didn't hit everyone. And if the leaders who they say did it, like Ping, weren't already conservative. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know. It's all stupid. All right, go ahead.
Continuing. Okay, 25. What does a computer geek have to do with the pandemic, and why does he want 7 billion coronavirus vaccines? Okay, finally, we get to talk about Bill Gates. Finally.
I don't know what is suspicious about wanting enough vaccines for the world on its face. That seems like if you're making a vaccine, that's sort of the point. This seems like maybe a narrative they're pushing where, first off, 7 billion is the count as of like censuses in the past and stuff. So we're probably past that anyway. But saying you want the Earth's population of vaccines is a nice way of saying we want to vaccinate people. So that's a weird way of saying that. Also, Bill Gates, I have plenty of problems with him. He's a billionaire. He should not have that much money. But like for all the shitty things you can say about Bill Gates and all the bad decisions he makes as a not a scientist in the world, he also is putting tons of money into places that should be funded by the government. So like, I agree, he shouldn't be doing that. We should be as a country, but instead we have people who are like basically just anti-vaxxers running us now. So they get to be added into the group of, well, there's a lot fewer anti-vaxxers than Christians, but it's the same thing of like, why are they oppressing us while they have a clear majority? Like, we're not oppressing Christians. They literally could vote us out of everything if they wanted to. But, like, it's just stupid. That's this list in a nutshell.
That's the headline. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
I also really like the minimizing of who Bill Gates is by calling him a computer geek, but also simultaneously hinting at the fact that he's like a genius mastermind that is trying to, I don't even know what they're insinuating, but he's a computer geek. And yeah, stupid.
And if you want to say that he's nefarious, we have to talk about the fact that Bill Clinton, Stephen Hawking, and Trump have all had relationships with what's his name, Jeff Epstein. Yeah, like sure, he is a piece of shit. Like everybody knows he's a piece of shit. Same with our president. Why are you trusting them?
Yeah.
Anyway, why did the CDC have a job posting for pandemic relief workers in November? Good question.
Well,
it probably doesn't have anything to do with the bad will of our president, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It probably definitely doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I think like a year ago, the president, what's the word? He got rid of basically the pandemic. I can't remember the name of this.
Like the task force stuff.
Yeah, he got rid of that. So it kind of seems like they probably would have a little more vested interest in spending some time and resources on pandemic relief when, like, supposedly the leader of the free world, like big America, nice guy America, is not investing in that anymore. So
yeah. I mean, if you want to say that you're pro-employers and anti-unions, the least you can throw is a bone to people who say, let's be prepared for stuff. Isn't that like the dream of like employers always being on top of their game? Like,
yeah.
if you're so smart that you're in charge, you should be planning. Even in the logic of shitty people, it makes sense that they would be hiring for that.
This list is like the meme equivalent of that guy with the red string. Is that from Sunny and It's Always Sunny? I can't remember what that's actually
from. It's Charlie, played by Charlie Day, looking for Pepe Silvia. Or Pepe Silva? I forget. But he has all the red string up and he's like...
That's this.
Yes. This is that cork board for 2020. And everybody posting it is hunting down Pepe Silva.
Okay, next one.
We're almost at the end.
Almost. Why did Dr. Fauci say in 2017 that the Trump administration would be faced with a surprise pandemic and then runs the pandemic team?
Probably research and preparedness, I would say.
Yeah, I mean...
Also, that timeline of November from the last question plays into this to some degree, because November is when the pandemic started. But we just didn't hear about it till it was kind of too late. The other thing is Dr. Fauci has been heading that position for a long time. And they have charts and shit. Like, they are keeping track of these things. I think a better question is, why would Dr. Fauci not say in 2017 that the Trump administration would be faced with a surprise pandemic? Like, what's your answer for why he wouldn't?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It seems pretty logical.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, but
that's kind of like asking why did blank say in 2017 that the Trump administration would be faced with, I don't know, protests. Like, why would they? Probably because they're going to happen.
yeah. Oh, God.
All right. Number 28. Ooh. Why are they infringing on Christian and Jewish religious freedoms? Why is that?
Yeah, why are they? Short answer, they're not.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
The whole separation of church and state thing too has been something I've been talking a lot with people about, of like, if you ever believed in that before, you can't now. Like, it's so clear at this point that like anything going against what the church wants just at any given time is so like unexpected and horrifying to them that it's unthinkable. And I don't think it goes against your religious freedoms to institute policies to try and keep you from getting a deadly infection. Also, actually, based on the same thing, I want to pimp Behind the Bastards for this. They did a breakdown of the history of religion and pandemics like last week or early this week. It's great. It goes over a lot of the stuff that I think people forget about and some stuff that I had not really heard specifics on. But it talks about the plague. So it talks about like how that was spread, but it also talks about the stuff that people should hear, which is like the levels of infection during this crisis and where they've come from and the consequences. And like, it is largely put forward by religious groups because they feel like they have some intrinsic right to not follow this and endanger other people. So,
Yep.
And the last question.
Yeah, here we go. Number 29. Why can people shop at Lowe's or Home Depot, but we are not allowed to go into a church building? Share a copy and paste if you agree.
This one seems easy.
Yeah, this is a pretty easy one. Those are essential businesses.
Yep.
They've been deemed essential, so that's why you can go there. Church is literally a gathering of people, and bad idea.
It's a good final question because it kind of sums up all the important parts. If you can't say run your own water or keep food cold, you can fix that by going to these places.
Yes.
You cannot fix that by going to church. It's not essential. It is nice for people. I don't think people should give up on their religion because they can't like yell about it to each other's faces.
Oh, I've fully given up since the beginning of this.
But like, you can have a Zoom meeting with as many people as you want. Have church.
Yeah, I don't fucking understand.
And if you don't have a computer, be angry at the people who made it so that this shit doesn't allow for proper funding of everybody. Not at people who say church is not essential, because those people are right. But Did you see any of my argument this week on a stupid argument about fucking unions? It's maybe one of the most frustrated things I've had to deal with in a while.
I did not see that.
Somebody posted, I reposted a thing for my grandma. Already, I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be on like social media reposting anything. But we're stuck at home and I'm weak sometimes, you know? And it basically just
happen.
It runs down how people and taxes and the economy work using cookies. And it breaks it up as like the most elementary way you can of prior to everything falling apart, the United States, and it gives years, but who cares? The United States had 8 of 10 cookies going to employers and 2 cookies going to the rest of the people, and they had to split it. So like it's just showing a really basic like here's the percentages, but it's cookies. Do you get it? And then it goes to the New Deal, and it's like when the New Deal hit, we had a huge economic boom, and all of a sudden the working class was getting like 4 cookies to 3 cookies, and it made a huge difference. And rich people still had tons. They had more than everybody. Whatever. Then when it gets to now, we're all getting 1 cookie, and everybody else with money gets to keep it, and they get more cookies, whatever. It's essentially just showing a disparity in like the amount of people versus how much money you're giving them, and making you think, well, where's the labor come from? It's a really simple thing. So I posted that with no comment whatsoever. And then I got a comment saying, well, that's not exactly how that works. As a person who runs multiple businesses, we are yada, yada, yada. You're taking away our reward for being like smart, industrious people is basically what it worked down to. Which is interesting to be like firmly anti-New Deal. I thought that was sort of seen as like a good part of American history.
Yeah.
I responded to this shit because I'm a dipshit. So I did. And I basically just said like, that's a good point. In essence that like, what was it? It was referencing like people being rewarded for what they do and us not like actually giving rights to workers, even though we say we are, you know. And this went back and forth, and it basically ended with them saying that people who run businesses, this is literally what they said, are better than the other people. Because I was trying to say like, well, we're all equal, so we should treat each other based on like the work we put in, like what we produce, and unions help protect that as like a bargaining chip against much bigger, well-funded, and like stronger people. Unions let you have a voice. And her response was unions are evil and they take all the money, and people who own businesses are better people. Like she took issue with me saying that people were equal. So that's kind of where a lot of this argument on this list comes from for me, of people just being like, well, some people are just better. Like,
yeah,
why can we go to Walmart and not Kohl's? Oh, like it's just very frustrating to see people just like, that's what you always want to, is people to just say what they're thinking so you can have an actual conversation. But it turns out that when people say what they're thinking, you just find out that they're way fucking dumber and way fucking meaner than you think they are in the first place.
Yeah. I think they Dan, I believe, on I get their names mixed up, on Knowledge Fight. I can't remember which episode it was this week. Yeah, it was Dan.
Deep voice Dan. That'll help.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Helpful. Made a really good point on one of their podcasts this week that was basically once you get people to like strip down their thoughts and say the actual thing, you realize that there's just a real big disparity in the reality, like that you're both trying to exist in. Like it's not there's such a divide between what their reality is and what our reality is, and we can't agree upon what that even is. Like the very basis thing of like people are equal. Well, I don't think so. Like you're never gonna. it's difficult to imagine getting somewhere when you can't have an agreement on something as basic as that. So,
well, I think
yeah.
what you're forgetting is that Jesus and the Bible and side note,
I did forget Jesus.
I'm about 95% sure from my own personal history and how that person ended up in my friends list, who the fuck knows. I'm pretty sure one of those two businesses is a puppy mill. So I'm a little bit like reticent to even listen to their most basic talking points.
I mean, some of us are just better than others. Some of us have puppy mills and are better.
You know, sometimes
That's just how it is.
maybe only the better people should be having these babies. Yeah, they'll get a little mixed up in their gene pools, but like, maybe that's just the way we should do it. This is how incest porn got popular.
I'm really glad that we're saying these things and it's going on the internet so that in like 2 years it can be totally taken out of context.
Yeah.
And we can get canceled. That's really what I'm looking to make happen.
Canceled.
Oh God.
I'm
Well,
sure
that was a fun list. So
I'm sure it'll stick. Canceling's real. Everybody should know canceling's real, and
oh yeah,
Mel Gibson will never work in this town again.
I'm pretty sure if you get canceled, you just like disintegrate. That's what happens.
All right, well, that's probably the end. That's the end.
It is the end. Well, I wish I could have provided some more like hopeful thoughts or nicer thoughts during this time, but yep, this is where we're at. I'm glad we talked through that list. Make sure and copy and paste and share if you agree.
Yeah, totally. Copy, paste, and share.
Mm-hmm.
Q.
Yep.
Pajabbers, I guess.
Be gone thoughts, I guess.